What is your vote for the best ballpark? Baseball and beer go together, just like Ion, Jersey Joe, and you on the Brew.
All right, Joel, so what is your vote for the best ballpark?
This is really, really hard. I'm going to give you my experiences with all of the ballparks, except for the new Texas one. But if you follow us on social media, I'm sure you've seen me write that before. But I went to all 30. Joe's been to probably about half of them with me.
Half to
So
three-quarters.
I have a very good palette for how many there are, what the fan experiences are, and how they rank. So I'll just give you a top 5, and then I'll narrow it down. Top 5. I'm going to have Yankee Stadium, PNC Park. That's New York, Pittsburgh, the San Francisco Giants, the Padres. Number 5, I would probably say I would go with probably the Mariners or the Marlins. One of those really, really nice parks, even though everybody hates the Marlins park because of how it looks. So those are some really nice. The reason those ones are really nice is because they have really nice ballparks, really nice fan experiences. Generally, not Yankee Stadium, but generally good food. And you just get more for your money. You're going to have a good time at those ballparks. There's a lot to explore. You can walk all the way around. There's some amenities everywhere, something that makes them unique. But I'll go with my number 1 is Petco Park. And the reason is because it has everything from all of the other ballparks all packed into one.
It's a good answer. All right, I like that. I haven't been to Petco yet, but I have been between half and three-quarters of the parks. Now, I got to get my West Coast ones punched off more. Definitely got to work in the California teams. But my number 1 answer, and you already said it, is PNC Park. I think just for the fan experience alone, the dollar value of it, there's things to do around the park. It's a beautiful scene out. By the way, look out in the outfield and you see the city, the fireworks go off during a home run. It is a great fan experience. Now, being a Yankee fan, though, I have to say this, and you know I bust Yankee Stadium for their food. I think their food and their product are so subpar compared to most ballparks that it's not even in my top 10. I like the old Yankee Stadium much better than the new one. The new one, to me, it's just a concrete slab, and they make little to no effort to make the fan experience better, only after other ballparks go ahead and do that. Like a couple years ago, they finally added the bar on the outfield just because that's the whole trend now for stadiums. And that's the other thing when you do go to a ballpark. Now, it's not just all about the baseball game. There has to be other amenities, other things going on too. So having said that, number 1 is definitely PNC Park for me. My second, I really enjoyed Camden Yards as well. There's a lot of things going on there. They have that little row of shops area going on. There's some barbecue, so that's pretty good too. And I also really, really like Nationals Park. Nationals Park, they were friendly. The staff was friendly. It's not super expensive. It's in a good neighborhood, so it's not a bad experience either. Now, I can't lock in my answers officially because I haven't gone to all the parks yet. I'm still working on that. But at this time, we decided to pick the topic. Those are my choices. What do you think?
I think most of the answers are going to be pretty similar. It's just going to be amongst the handful. It'll be amongst the 5 to 10 parks most people. That's probably what most people have been to, about 5 to 10 parks for most fans. So we're probably going to need a lot of answers that are similar to yours. PNC Park is really popular, but for good reason, as Joe and I both just mentioned.
Here, I'm going to put you on a spot real quick. What's your biggest disappointment for a ballpark?
My biggest disappointment is going to surprise a couple. Actually, there's 2 of them. My biggest disappointments, plural, are going to disappoint people because they're expected to be great ballparks, and they're not. So one of them is Angel Stadium. Angel Stadium is a dump. The only thing that's cool about it is it looks really cool on TV. Not being able to walk around, everything being expensive, rude customer service. It's not fun. It's just not a fun place. And then the other one is Wrigley. Wrigley is super overrated. Wrigley is cool for nostalgic factors, but that's it. I don't want to go, if I'm sitting up top, I don't want to go walk up the ramps. I don't want cash only everywhere except the bottom floor. I don't want that. And it's windy all the time. Even if it's like a day game and it's supposed to be warm out, if you're up top, you're cold. So you pretty much have to sit on the bottom there. So there you go. I appreciate the curveball. What about you?
Yeah, you're gonna be shocked. Mine's actually Fenway. I like the nostalgia of the park, but I don't like the 2 separate lines, one for beer and then one for food. And then the Fenway Franks I thought were just god awful. I love hot dogs, I love ballpark food, but the Fenway Franks, blah, it was pretty much like fried bologna, which here in New Jersey is actually, fried pork roll is actually a delicacy, but no, it was terrible. So it was cool to sit in those old-fashioned wooden seats you barely fit in because humans were half the size they were 100 years ago when that park was built, but what it is now, no. I mean, that's my miss. I mean, hate to say that, but it's true.
I think the reason that I don't put that one there is it's the nostalgic factor goes for both parks, so that just evens out. But the reason I don't put it there is because they have a bunch of corridors going a bunch of different places and have cool stuff to look at, and the food's really cheap. And that bar that you could go in center field is really, really cool. And me and Joe actually both have sat at. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty low on my list too.
I love the fact we go places we easily find the bar. Like, no problems. We find the good bars, too.
Oh, shit, there it is. Joe could spot one from like 20 miles away. Just like,
Yeah.
starting like the crack of the door, way out there.
Hey, I know how to find a good time. All right, well, let's get to your answers because you got quite a few of them here. So what's your opinion for the best ballpark? Let's get back on track. Bottomless Yankee says Camden Yards. Agreed with me. Harsh says the biased Yankee fan of me will say Yankee Stadium, but the fan of me will say the San Francisco Giants Park. Tybox says Citi Field, obviously. Craig says, is there really any question here? Citi Field. And Rudy says, I've been to Dodger Stadium, Angel Stadium, and Petco Park. All good-looking ballparks, but nothing beats the thrill of going to Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium is my favorite ballpark. I will give Citi Field, I give them a C rating, maybe a B minus, and for two reasons. Number one, there's nothing to do around it. When you go to Citi Field, you just go to Citi Field. They have tried and tried. The politicians can't figure out a way to build other entertainment values and close the damn chop shops out there. So they're missing that dollar value. So there's nothing else to do around there. And do you remember, Joel, when they first opened Citi Field, it wasn't even branded the Mets. It was a generic ballpark. The seats were green. You wouldn't even know you were at a Met game until their weird little Apple thing popped up during a home run. They fixed that later on, but initially, you could have been in PNC Park with the same green seats. There was no way to tell the difference.
Yeah, I don't know if I would hold that against the park now, but you're definitely right about there's nothing outside of it. There's actually not a ton of amenities. I do like the food and drinks there better than Yankee Stadium, but there's not a ton of shit to do at that ballpark. There's cool stuff to look at one time around, and that's about it.
They have that little kids area too, has like little kids baseball diamond. They used to have the dunk tank there. They got rid of that. Now they got some like Ford sponsored, some type of muscle man meathead experience. I always wanted to sit in the dunk tank though and heckle Met fans. That'd have been fun.
That would be something Joe would do. I'd be the one throwing it.
I would not let that happen because you will hit the target. So no.
No, what you just said is actually kind of a good point. They do have that. That is good quality. And a lot of other ballparks, like I use Petco Park as my favorite one. They have that as well. That's great for growing the game. Like that will get kids interested in the game before they go in. You know, somewhere between like the age of 5 and 10 years old is usually when parents are bringing their kids to a game because that's like the first age they can kind of grasp what they're looking at. Those little ballparks where they kind of go out and experience it themselves, those are great learning tools.
Mike F325, he says, old Yankee Stadium, first place I saw baseball in color. The scent of hot dogs, beers, cigars, fresh cut grass, the greats of the early 60s. Maris hits 33rd, 1961, the excitement. Oh, and he sends along pics of his kids and himself in the dugout in 2008 and in Monument Park. Like we said, it has got to be other amenities, and Monument Park, the new Yankee Stadium, is cool. Got to give him that. Got to respect that. Bronx Bombers 46 says Oracle, Petco, Camden Yards, Wrigley, and of course Yankee Stadium. However, I miss the old one. You see a theme with some of our Yankee Stadium comments here? I said that, now two other people said that they actually miss the old Yankee Stadium better. Interesting.
Of course, you're going to get people who are nostalgic. They're going to pick the park that they grew up going to, regardless of era and regardless of geography.
There you go. I grew up going to Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, and it was okay. It was that glorified, that 60s, 70s pattern of ballparks, and they were bowls, and they're used for multi-use stadiums. PNC Park definitely knocks that out of the wagon. But the cool thing I liked about Yankee Stadium is all the concourses, you were like inside, like you couldn't see anything, but then you come out of that tunnel, and all of a sudden like the field like opened up, and there it is, like wow, and that's where Babe Ruth was, Joe DiMaggio. It had that almost like that magical feeling. Whereas the new one, it's kind of just concrete slabs and, a Benihana.
It doesn't have the same feel, even though it has the same, like all the structure is the same, the dimensions are the same. They've added seating and a whole bunch of bars and everything, but it doesn't feel the same because there's so many ads on everything too. It feels so it doesn't feel nearly as personal, put it that way.
And soon to be ads on jerseys as well. Let's just keep the ads coming, MLB. Yeah. Hey, motorcyclist. That's an ad for Harley Davidson. Okay, anyhow, more of your comments. Elizabeth Mullins, she says, with a big typo, go with Fenway for the nostalgia, and I love Baltimore Stadium. Real Treats tweets, current is Dodger Stadium. You never know, it's 60 years old this year. The weather's normally great and hardly a bad seat in the house. It's just expensive. Shea Stadium will always be my favorite. It was loud and it shook. Great food. Loved the big scoreboard. I guess we do got to talk about Dodger Stadium because that does seem to be one. I haven't been in it yet, but for being old school, they seem to have kind of tried to update it through the years.
They have, and Dodger Stadium is a complicated one. The reason that I don't have it in my top isn't so much because they don't have nostalgia, because they haven't been able to kind of like update. The fan experience there is great. He's right. He mentioned that it is expensive. It is expensive. It's also really shitty. The seats are really old. It's got a ton of nostalgia, and you can get decent food there. I'd say it's about middle of the pack, maybe a little below average, but it's got a great fan experience. There's going to be people throwing the airplanes. There's going to be people playing with the beach balls. There's going to be that giant party section in right and left field. Like those are things that people in LA look forward to doing. And not only that, but them and the Lakers pretty much have a monopoly on sports in Southern California because nobody there cares. People didn't even know the Rams were in the Super Bowl last year. Like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Dodger Stadium is a big deal for a lot of people, and they do put on a good show there. They do put on a good show overall.
All right, speaking of shows, we're going to shift topics here for our last answer because Rafa Guitar has a final answer. He says, Frederick Keys Ballpark, where they serve real corn on the cob and real roast beef sandwiches roasted right on the spit with local draft beer. Popcorn popped in oil with scotch on the rocks. You know, he's the only one, like, I know we put this question out there, he's the only one to bring up an MILB park, which you want to talk about dollar value, you want to talk about fun, well, that's definitely a way to, like, take your family to the ballpark on the cheap.
I know Joe was hoping someone was going to name a minor league park, and I'm glad someone did. They are the gimmicky thing that gets you into the sport. They're goofy. You go there for $5-10. It's a family type of thing for a small town, and it's just something to enjoy. I'm glad he mentioned that.
You know I love a good gimmick, and I love a good gimmick even more. And you click that like, subscribe button down below for all the fun here in the Jersey Joe 50 YouTube channel. Lots of gimmicks, but lots of fun at a fair and reasonable price because it's free, waiting for you each and every week. Yeah, you know, one thing, Joel, like I know we're talking about, like I still need to get to more major league ballparks. I still want to punch off a few more like minor league ballparks on my list. The Staten Island Ferry Hawks here used to be the Yankees. They have a cool ballpark here. It overlooks like Lower Manhattan. So, you know, minor league parks too. They all have their charm as well. So I think it's fair to keep them on the list.
The great part about baseball is you go to a big city and you see the giant corporate version of what the game can be, but then you go to a small town and you see like the little like community unity and gimmicky stuff, and you know they got a mascot comes up and high fives you. It's two whole different worlds, and you can just enjoy both of them.
Amen. Very, very well said. We want to apologize to our affiliates. We've running really long on this show, so we will be joining the Young and the Restless in progress on most of these CBS stations except on the West Coast. Jersey Joe, Hine on you saying thanks for watching. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time, I hope.
Can you spot a real news story from a fake? Play along with Alexa and Jersey Joe's fake news game.